It's no exaggeration to say that Lili Boulanger may well have become one of the most significant composers of the 20th century, had fate been a little more kind. I remember the first time I experienced Lili Boulanger's music. I had put on a playlist of music that I didn't really know while I did chores around the house. To be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to the music, and that's not normally how I'd recommend listening. But then a certain piece began, music for orchestra and voices, and within a few minutes I was compelled to drop everything, sit down, close my eyes, and for 25 minutes I was glued to my chair, absolutely absorbed in the intensity of emotion, the passionate highs and the cruel, vicious darkness which were balanced in a perfect contrast. A totally enthralling, gripping and beautiful dramatic miniature. I didn't know what I was listening to, just that I was captivated by it. When it came to an end, I checked what I had just listened to. It was a cantata, Faust et Helene by Lili Boulanger. I couldn't believe what I had just discovered. I couldn't believe that this composer wasn't more recognized. With music like this, I thought she should be performed far more regularly. Here was a girl who had won major prizes, had several large-scale commissions, and was a genuine prodigy who could musically express things in a way that few people in a generation can. It's no exaggeration to say that Lili Boulanger may well have become one of the most significant composers of the 20th century, had fate been a little more kind. So I was compelled to dive into her life, and now I want to show you who Lili Boulanger was and why you should listen to her music. By the way, if you have an interest in composing and want to explore modern composing topics further, I've started a podcast where I look at different music, have conversations with professional composers, and discuss different techniques or challenges that composers face. The podcast is called A Composer's Journey, and you can find it on most podcasting tools. There's a link in the description below this video, and you can also sign up for even more free bonus composing content if you'd like. Lili Boulanger was born in 1893, and she was the younger sister of Nadia Boulanger by about 6 years. If you haven't seen my video on Nadia Boulanger, who is possibly the greatest teacher in all of music history, you should definitely watch that, as Nadia's influence on 20th century music history was astronomical. If you have seen that video, you'll know that Nadia was something of a child prodigy. Well, that's putting it lightly. But according to some sources, Nadia's younger sister Lili was on another level altogether. Lili would learn informally in months what had taken Nadia years to master. However, unlike Nadia, there was something holding Lili back. The largest obstacle in Lili's life, perhaps, was her physical condition. Lili had suffered from intestinal tuberculosis at the age of 3. At that time, this disease was incurable, and this led to a lifetime of constant illness. Nevertheless, it was a lifetime devoted to music. From as early as 5 years old, she would sometimes accompany her older sister Nadia to classes at the Paris Conservatoire, absorbing as much musical knowledge as she could. As a child, she learned violin, piano, voice, and harp, with a public debut in 1901, aged only 7 or 8. Lili was quick to master the concepts taught in the Conservatoire's theory and harmony courses, and soon she began taking organ lessons from Louis Vierne, who, by the way, is a significant figure in the history of organ music. While she probably composed throughout her adolescence, some of her earliest surviving works were written aged 17 to 18 years old. You can hear in this Nocturne for flute and piano, which is often played for violin and piano, how the beginning is gorgeous and subdued. Delicately handled. Before the main theme comes out passionately from behind the clouds. With some gorgeous French harmony leading to some magnificent post-romantic climaxes. It's extraordinary, lucid, beautiful, and expressive music, and for someone so young to have written it. Or how about this work, Les Sirenes, again written at 17 or 18 years old. This work seems to have a Debussyan influence with its gorgeous siren textures. This work was probably a practice run for the Prix de Rome, but even as a late teen, she was starting to develop a recognizable style. Or take Pour les Funerailles d'un Soldat, for the funeral of a soldier, with its dark hints of dies irae. Already at the age of 19, she shows a facility with large orchestra and chorus, and there were many beautiful songs and short works written in her teen years too. But the major achievement of her early career was surely at the Prix de Rome. I spoke in some detail about the Prix de Rome in my Lili Boulanger video, but as a reminder, this competition was a huge goal for any composing student at the Conservatoire, and the winner was almost guaranteed a successful career. Previous winners included Hector Berlioz, Charles Gounod, Georges Bizet, and Claude Debussy. After a qualifying round, composers would spend 2 weeks in a villa where they would compose a cantata for orchestra and soloists to a given text. In this villa, they would have no access to a piano, only pencil, paper, and their brain. You may remember that Lili Boulanger attempted to win this prize 3 times, but never succeeded. In 1912, aged 18, Lili Boulanger entered the competition for the first time. She got through to the final round, but had to withdraw due to ill health. This led some people to speculate that Lili wasn't able to handle the pressure of serious competition. They were absolutely wrong. Lili entered again the next year, aged 19. For her first round, she wrote Soir Sur La Plaine, a cantata with great piano textures and gorgeous choir chords. And for the final round of the competition, she composed this astonishing cantata, Faust et Helene. It starts with these gorgeous, delicate textures and some quotes reminiscent of Debussy's Prélude à l'après-midi d'un faune. Leading to wonderful lines. And throughout this first section, there are all kinds of lovely textures. About halfway through this cantata, the love music starts. Helene replies. And this love scene rises towards climax. Leading to them singing Je t'aime, I love you, where their parts cross over each other, the tenor rising higher than the soprano for just a moment. For those of you who know the story of Faust and Helene, it's not a happy ending. And we must descend into the realm of Mephistopheles. There's begging and pleading. Some brilliant moments of excitement. Leading to great climaxes worthy of any great opera composer. Lili Boulanger managed to turn the subpar text she was given into something exceptional, while still playing within the restrictions of the competition. Debussy even wrote a review of this work in the journal SEM. Lili Boulanger is only 19 years old. Her experience of the techniques of writing music is far greater, however. With a judging panel including Fauré, Vidor, and Charpentier, Lili's cantata won the Prix de Rome competition with 31 out of 36 votes. An overwhelming victory. And so, Lili Boulanger was the first woman to win the Prix de Rome, and arguably the first female composer to be recognized by such a significant Western institution, setting an important historical precedent for female composers. After winning this competition, Lili was awarded a contract with the Ricordi publishing house, although Faust et Helene was the only work to actually be published in her lifetime, with the dedication to my sister, Lili Boulanger. As winner of the Prix de Rome, Lili travelled to Rome to take up residency in the Villa Medici. There she was treated less than wonderfully by the director of the programme, Albert Besnard. Besnard did not appreciate the severity of her illness. Lili had wanted a lady chambermaid rather than a male servant to take care of her, as she was so often ill and bedridden. Besnard was reluctant to make these accommodations. In one diary entry she writes, "Trouble with Besnard, who called me to his office. He's really nasty." Nevertheless, Boulanger continued to compose prolifically. It's well worth listening to her song cycle Clarieres dans le Ciel, or Clearings in the Sky. This song, for example, is immediately gorgeous. So many of these songs are, actually, that you should just listen to all of them. Much of Lili's music in this period was written in particular genres due to conditions as the winner of the Prix de Rome. For example, she produced numerous religious vocal works at this time. In 1916, she composed a setting of Psalm 24, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof." This has a great orchestral part with organ and moments of very exciting power, especially in the final minute. Later that same year, she set Psalm 129, "Many a time have they afflicted me from my youth." This one starts with the musical direction, contained but agitated inside, with these strange chords. Leading to some epic, intense, almost cinematic moments later on. Of course, taking these moments of music completely out of context doesn't really do them justice. That's why you need to go and listen to Lili Boulanger and put her music on your playlists. I just wanted to give you some tasters here. Of course, while Lili was in Rome, the First World War broke out in Europe. From Rome, Lili was inspired to create a support network for musicians on active service, arranging for food, clothing, and money to be sent to soldiers. Established composers such as Widor, Fauré, and Charpentier became members of this institution. Lili, Nadia, and others would send a gazette of composition classes from the conservatoire to students mobilized in the war, showing her commitment not just to her own music, but to the music making of others. In 1917, Lili wrote a setting of Psalm 130, "The De Profundis, out of the depths have I cried unto thee, O Lord." This is almost certainly a piece written to reflect war, suffering, and pain. Though dedicated to her late father, it could also be considered a sort of requiem. There's a dark, tortured beginning with tortured strings, which later leads to larger climaxes. And then gorgeous moments of calm. Or it's an astonishing piece of music. That same year, she set a Vielle Priere Bouddhique, an old Buddhist prayer for peace, and this work is a wonderful contrast to the darkness of her Psalm 130. This work takes on elements of East Asian exoticism, which was very fashionable in French music at the time, and yet it's an extremely inventive piece of music, gorgeously realized, and sounds very modern. This is a masterclass in the French school of harmony, and it has a thrilling ending. But of course, I don't want to give the game away. You'll have to go and listen to it for yourself. One major promising project of Lili's was an opera to Maeterlinck's text La Princesse Maleine. Maeterlinck's poetry was loved on the music scene. His Pelléas et Mélisande was famously set by Debussy. Maeterlinck approved of Lili and her music and gave her carte blanche to edit the text if she needed to, which made her very happy. Unfortunately, fate would not allow her to finish this major project. Lili would spend much of her time exhausted in her bed, and we have many journal entries and letters from this time to know what she was going through. One musical sketch she wrote was this little number, a sketch which reflects the pain she was in. The text reads, "I have pains in my back, pains, little pains. I have pains in the whole back. Little pains. I can't go out because it's raining. Now I'm hot. I'm not cold anymore, but I'm too hot. I'm rather ill. Poor little thing. Why am I always in pain? It's not fair. Poor little thing. So little. Being too hot, being too cold, that's my lot. It's not fun." Nadia would often keep Lili company when sick. We can see from her diary entries, Nadia doesn't go out. I'm happy about that. Her final diary entries are almost all in Nadia's hand. Lili was in severe pain. In 1918, when Paris was bombarded by the Germans and it was clear that Lili did not have long to live, they moved to the village of Mézy near Paris. Her final work was a setting of the Priere Jesu, a text meant for a requiem. Too weak to write, Lili dictated most of the work to her sister. Nadia recalls, when she could no longer write, she dictated note by note, line by line, the work which she had conceived within her. The music moves from anguished intensity to a calm acceptance of her fate. And a gorgeous final minute of music with the sublime Amen. Lili died aged 24 and was buried in the velvet dress which she had worn for her institute performance of Faust et Helene. She now shares a grave with her sister Nadia. Based on the sheer quality of the music she has written, even as she was plagued with illness throughout her life, I am convinced that had she made it even into her 30s, she would be more widely recognized as one of the greatest musical geniuses of the 20th century. I just wanted to announce that I've got some really exciting content coming up for composers, including some free live workshops which will focus on how to actually learn composing, how to go through the creative process, and how to break free of any stylistic ruts that you found yourself in. These workshops are designed for beginners and more experienced composers, and most of it won't be posted on YouTube, so if you want to come along for the ride, then make sure to sign up to my email list. I send one email per week of super secret composing content. You'll be the first to know about any live workshops or events, and on top of that, I've even thrown in a free bonus ebook for you. I'm really excited about this coming content, so I hope that you'll join the list and join us for the ride.